This is the KOHO 101 Community Connection Podcast. Check back often for a continuing look at business in the greater Wenatchee area.
It's the KOHO Morning Show, so nice of you to join us for this edition of the program, and great to see the Wenatchee Valley Chamber of Commerce in studio with us once again. We're going to continue our series of Community Connections podcasts with the Chamber today, and part of that is the Workforce Development Series, and we've got Shiloh Burgess, Executive Director of the Chamber, back in-house with us today, along with Dave Parkhill, who is with the Chelan County Public Utility District. Their Senior Safety and Health Coordinator is going to talk to us primarily about the Apprenticeship Program that they have at the PUD. And Dave, Shiloh, it's nice to have you here. Thanks for coming in.
Thank you for having us.
Thank you very much. Great to be here.
Absolutely. So, Shiloh, let's turn to you first. We're kind of the hot potato here. Talk about workforce development. I mean, you can't leave the public utility district in our area out, certainly, because huge workforce. They employ a lot of folks, and they obviously power a lot of folks, too, that are employed here, too. So, again, when we talk about the PUD, we talk about a major piece of the infrastructure here as far as the economy is concerned in the region.
Absolutely. And one of the things that's very unique, which Dave is going to talk about, is they've got many different ways you can become employed at Chelan County PUD, right? There's the traditional route, perhaps, of going and getting a degree and maybe going into their accounting department or looking at some environmental or wildlife biologists or all that kind of stuff. But they also have really unique apprenticeship programs, and I'm hoping Dave will tell us a little bit about his role and his journey with Chelan County PUD. He's been there for a while, which is awesome. And then about these different opportunities and apprenticeships that they have, and what does it mean to be in an apprenticeship, and how do you prepare for an apprenticeship, and what are the ideal candidates, and all that kind of stuff. So we're excited to have you with us, Dave, and I hope you will start by just giving us a little bit of your background with Shillington County PUD.
Absolutely. Thank you. A little bit of background about me. I've been at the PUD almost 25 years, and I started off as a temporary fish and wildlife helper. And that was my first job at the PUD, and worked my way up, and I had a chance to work with the line crew and work out at the dams as an apprentice mechanic. And then this job in safety came open about 18 years ago, which allowed me to do a lot of training, and that's what my degree was in education. And so do a lot of teaching. That's one of the hats that I wear. Another hat is running our apprenticeship program. I've overseen the district's apprenticeship program a little over 15 years, and it's one of the hats that I wear that I just really, really love. These are great jobs at the PUD. We have a variety of different apprenticeship programs, and a lot of them are really based on need. If we have some openings in the line department, for example, or out at Hydro with either the wireman craft or the mechanics or what have you, that's really how it starts, is if there's a need. So to that point, we have a total of 8 different apprenticeship programs. Currently, we have the lineman program, we have the generation mechanic program, and so those are the employees that work out at our dams, Rocky Reach, Rock Island, Chelan dams, keeping those turbines running. We also have a couple different wireman programs, both the generation wiremen that work out also at the dams, and our substation wiremen that work at all the different substations and switch yards here as well. In addition, we have operator apprenticeship programs and what are called meterman programs and water technician programs, and finally, electric utility technician programs. So yes, a total of 8. 4 of them were in place right now, and we have around 25 apprentices currently in one of those stages of their programs. They're usually a 3-year program. The technician is a 4-year program. But again, these are very coveted positions. It's great. And Shiloh, you mentioned it. A lot of people think, I need to go to college. I need to get a degree and go to work. But there's some that maybe college isn't their thing. And that's okay. What's nice about the apprenticeship program is you earn while you learn. And so whether you're working as a line worker, working in the dams as a mechanic or a wireman, you can come in. Our apprentices will start as a trainee, and that's usually up to about a year. And then once they're ready to start their apprenticeship program, it's usually either, as I said, a 3-year or a 4-year program, and they go in 6-month steps, if you will. And so, for example, if I'm a mechanic apprentice, I'll go over 3 years, total of 6 different steps. Every 6 months I get advanced. And again, they're earning while they're learning. And then also they do classroom training at night. So it's just a great opportunity for people here in the Valley.
Dave, it might seem to the layperson or the uninitiated that the jobs at the Public Utility District today, and perhaps even in the future, are very similar to the jobs that have been there for 20, 50 years, maybe even since the beginning. But I would imagine that's not true, with technology sort of having its own impacts on every sector of the workforce. So what's the impact on the PUD as far as that's concerned?
Well, I know we keep up to date with all the changes, to your point. And so, for example, if I'm working with the mechanic group, for example, maybe they have to do more work on computers and drawings and things like that. So you're right. The district has had an apprenticeship program for over 60 years. So what they learned 60 years ago is probably going to be a lot different than what they're learning now, and up-to-date technology and what have you. But what's nice about this is our programs are really tailored to that craft, and we really give a lot of ownership to our crafts out there, saying, what do you need to have the best apprentice out there? So they may get, for example, if I'm working as a hydro wireman apprentice, I'll get 2,000 hours in rotating equipment. I'll get 1,000 hours in prints and drawings. I'll get another 1,000 hours on working with different, working maybe at switch yards or working at the plant, what have you. It just really tailored to what they do. And that's the nice thing about that, as well as with our classroom training. Very up to date. A lot of it now is on a learning management system where they're going in and doing some computer work, and that goes along with the books, and the tests are done electronically. So it definitely has changed a lot to keep up with the times, if you will.
So what makes a good apprentice? If I'm listening here this morning and I have a son, a daughter, a grandkid, a friend, myself, and I'm going, this really sounds interesting. I'm wanting to make a change, or I don't know what I'm doing, but I think this would be neat. What makes a good apprentice? How do you know if they, should look into one of the 8 programs that you might have an opening in?
Oh, that's a great question. Definitely takes drive, determination, and a great team player, because during your journey as an apprentice and your time as a trainee, you're going to be working with a lot of different crews. And to be a really good team member, what I always tell our apprentices when they first start is be a sponge. Soak it up, because you're going to learn from a lot of very, very talented journeymen that had gone through the same apprenticeship just like you did, some both at the PUD, some out of construction, and you can learn a little bit from everybody. So by the time you're done and become a journeyman, you've got all those skills that you learned from everyone else. So I think the biggest thing, Shiloh, is to, again, be a team player, be open to learning, ask a lot of questions, don't just sit back, but dive right in and really just absorb everything that's out there. It never hurts to be up to date in math. For example, if I'm going to be a wireman apprentice or working as a line worker, what have you, there are formulas and calculations, especially when you're working around electricity. That's kind of a big deal to ensure that you know the formulas and all that. So brushing up on your math skills and knowing that, as well as just being, again, I think the biggest thing is just be a good team member, want to learn, because these are very, very coveted positions. We may have a couple hundred applicants for 2-3 jobs, and to go in and advance yourself, for example, maybe go out and get a CDL, and maybe go out and, for example, our line worker apprentices go to a line college. There's a 4-month line college opportunity where you can go in and you learn how to climb, and you learn a lot of skills needed for that. And if you've got that on your resume, go get your first aid card, get your flagger card. You already have that set. It's really going to make you shine compared to some of the others that maybe don't have those skills.
And it kind of sets you up with, like you said, some of that additional experience or whatnot that might be applicable to what you're doing. And all of those things can earn you money before you're ready to make that leap, too, which is pretty exciting. Absolutely. I know CDLs are in high demand as well. We don't seem to have enough of those. So that's a good point for sure. So you talked a little bit about you might have 200 applicants and you might have 3 or 4 positions. How do people learn that there's a position open? How do they learn, what any one of those 8 programs, what that job really entails, or what it will entail if they successfully graduate from the apprenticeship program? Like, where do they get more information?
Absolutely. Great what people can do is go on the PUD's website, and there's a link up there called Careers. And what's really cool is they can go in and sign up to get notifications from the PUD if there is a position open in that area that they're interested in. And another thing they've got on that site is information on the district's apprenticeship program, which is great. It tells you about all different programs, what's required, what they look like. And so that way, if I'm interested in looking into the substation wireman program, for example, I could look and say, oh yeah, I'm all about that. I could do that, and I'm going to do this, and here's some of the recommendations some of the training I should have, and what you're going to be learning. It really does happen. But by getting those notifications, that's nice, because the HR group does a really good job in notifying our potential employees out there. And again, it's really based on need. Well, for example, within the last year, we hired 5 new generation wireman apprentices. And a couple of years ago, we hired a couple more lineman apprentices, and mechanic apprentices are going to be out there, trainee positions. And so there's definitely going to be a need here, especially over the next couple of years, where there are going to be more apprentice openings. We've never had, in the 15 years I've been running the program, we've never had so many apprentices. And I tell my coworkers where I work, I'm like a little kid at Christmas. I'm running around going, oh my gosh, this is great. We've got all these new trainees, and they're coming in, and I brag on our program. We have a really, really good, what's called a joint apprenticeship training committee. And it's a committee both of our bargaining unit employees that represent the crafts, as well as our managers. And we meet quarterly to see the progress of how our apprentices are doing. And it's just amazing where we have these quarterly meetings. And if I'm a mechanic apprentice, for example, then one of the journeymen is on that committee, and they could say, hey, Bob is doing a fantastic job. We've done a bunch of work down at Rock Island Powerhouse 2, and he's just diving right in and wanting to learn, and got to learn some of these new skills on this new piece of machinery. Or we have one of our lineman apprentices going in and say, yep, gosh, we did a big transmission job, and they were just right there and wanting to learn. And so again, that's what the beauty of it is we get to really follow this journey that they're on for the 3 years, and then their time as a trainee. And then by the time, like I mentioned, they're done, they have a really well-rounded education where, boom, they're on it and they can go. And what's great is a lot of our apprentices, they stay, and we want them to stay. I mean, because it is a great job. It's a good family wage job. And I mean, gosh, who doesn't want to live in Wenatchee, right? So we get a lot of people calling from over on the west side, and others going, hey, I really want to move to Wenatchee. I heard you've got a great apprenticeship program. Tell me a little bit about it. So again, that's why people like it.
That kind of leads me to my next question, and that is that, okay, I'm really interested, and maybe there's a couple directions I could be going, and I'm really not sure if I'd be better suited for one or the other. Do you ever speak to prospective people that might be applying, or is there someone within HR they would talk to? Because sometimes you're going, I know this about me, but I don't know enough about this to go, yeah, I'd be really successful. Or just kind of evaluate them as they come in, and maybe they say they want to be a mechanic, but you go, well, you've got these skills. We think you'd be really good over here as a wireman, apprentice. Or how does that kind of filter in? Or if people are thinking, can they speak with you, or can they speak with someone there?
I would love them to. And again, I want them also to reach out to HR, because they're the group that's going to be setting the jobs out there. But they have a really good, they'll get those on the interview committee, those that are in the crafts, as well as supervisors that are going to be there supervising them, and then they'll go through the interview process and all that. But if they have any other technical questions, I want them to reach out to me. I would love to talk with them. Again, I mean, you can tell I'm a little excited about our program, but it is something where I watch these trainees become apprentices, become journeymen, and it's just great because they work hard, and again, it's a great job, and they just do fantastic. And what's really nice is that our program, we're affiliated with the what's called the Washington State Apprenticeship and Training Council out of Olympia, and they oversee all the apprenticeship programs in Washington State. And I try to go to the quarterly meetings at least once a year, and I'll go and talk to the board that's on that committee, and it seems like every time I'm over there, someone will say, oh my gosh, Chelan PUD's apprenticeship program you're doing great. And I go, well, it's not me. It's our whole team. It's our committee. It's the apprentices. It's those that are hiring our apprentices, because they're doing fantastic. And I keep up to date. I send them the hours that our apprentices are working, because that's required, their classroom hours, and just how they're doing overall. And again, that the district's apprenticeship program is one of the best in the state. I'll brag on it all day. Because it is, awesome. Again, it is a great place to work. It really is.
Dave Parkhill with us today. He's the Senior Safety and Health Coordinator for the Chelan County Public Utility District, along with Shiloh Burgess, Executive Director of the Wenatchee Valley Chamber of Commerce, here for part of our Workforce Development series with the Chamber. This is part of our Community Connections podcast series with the Chamber. These are downloadable online any place you find your favorite podcast, at our website, KOHO101.com, and links at the Chamber website as well. And of course, here on the KOHO Morning Show periodically as well. And Shiloh, Dave, I appreciate the time very much. Thanks to each of you. Stay well. And
thank you.
Dave, best of luck with recruiting all the best in the state. Sounds like you get a lot of them.
We appreciate that, Chris. Thank you.
Thanks for joining us for the KOHO 101 Community Connection Podcast, a look at business in the greater Wenatchee area.